Alrighty then. Facebook be sleeping. Don't be trying to tell y'all about the live videos. So sometimes I give it a moment in the beginning before starting, you know. And this isn't going to be a long message because my phone is dying anyway. But this is just a quick reminder and a quick message of encouragement. Okay. Okay, so share this with whomever needs to hear it. Right? And I'm going to give a disclaimer first and say, because it says it all in the caption. And this is really just about another form of self-sabotage. Because a lot of the time, we are afraid of momentum. We are afraid of momentum. And it kind of reminds me, because I was sitting here and I was receiving downloads about the chariot card in tarot. And it was reminding me about how sometimes we get to a point where we're finally focused and we're finally, for the first time, going in the right direction and doing the things that we want to do. And then what happens, right? We begin to get momentum. We begin to see and feel momentum, and we start to see things come to fruition. And then because we are moving in the right direction, and because the energy is aligning, and because the law of attraction is working for us, we get so much momentum for the first time. We're afraid of the speed. We're afraid of the speed, and then what happens? Then we start to apply brakes. And what that braking looks like for some of us, it may be forms of self-sabotage, because you're not used to what that feels like for the first time. And it can be scary, right? It can be scary because all of these opportunities, all these doors are opening, and you don't know how to handle it. You may not know how to handle the load of it. You may not know how to make peace with the responsibility that comes with it. So you start self-sabotaging and you start hitting the brakes. You start hitting the brakes. And you don't realize spiritually that you have applied the brakes. So when that happens, you begin to allow that feeling of doubt creep in, and you wonder why things are now going slower. Then you start to wonder why things are not going the same way that you wanted them to. And you don't realize that your energy, you being the conduit, has changed the direction of your momentum. You are in charge of your chariot. You're the person driving this vehicle, this vessel in your life, right? And some of us, we've had to use discernment. Just like driving, you've had to use discernment, and sometimes you've had to slow down. You have to, if the traffic is too thick, sometimes you have to pull back and slow down a little bit just so that you can maneuver around obstacles to then be able to apply more speed later and then get ahead of all of that density. But sometimes, for some of us, and this, you'll know when this message is for you, sometimes you've already made it past those obstacles. You've already made it past that traffic. But for some reason, you still won't apply pressure again. And you overthink it, and you hesitate, and you slow down, when this is your season to gun that shit. I had just posted a status pretty much saying that the only difference between them and you is that they follow through. That's it. You're overthinking, and you're delaying your own success. You're delaying your own destiny. You're delaying enjoying the fruits of your labor. You're delaying enjoying the fruits of your creativity. Follow through. Think about, even on a simple level, let's say you have a pile of laundry in the house, and you keep saying that you're going to schedule it in. You're going to be like, okay, you keep looking at the pile of laundry, and you keep looking at the pile of laundry, and you're talking to yourself about it, and you're like, okay, I'm going to fold these, or I'm going to wash these clothes, or I'm going to hang them up tomorrow. I'm going to hang them up tomorrow. I'm going to hang them up tomorrow. And the amount of time that you spent overthinking the action, the amount of time that you spent delaying it, it could have already been done several times over. A lot of us spend way more time in the thought process than we do in the execution. And the execution is actually the easiest part. We make this a lot more difficult for ourselves when we put our own projections onto things, when we feel like it's going to go a certain way, when we start imagining all the things that could go wrong, or we start projecting what we feel like we may not be able to do or what we may not be good enough for. You're applying the brakes in your own momentum. And I know, especially like I said in the beginning, if you're just tuning in, when you're experiencing momentum for the first time in your life, when you're actually actualizing, when you're focused on something, when energy is aligning, with the law of attraction is working in your favor, and you begin to feel momentum for the first time in your life, sometimes that speed can be scary as a motherfucker. So I don't fault you for applying the brakes. I don't fault you for feeling like you need to slow down for a second until you get your wheels, your legs, your running legs, whatever you want to, theorize it at. But don't get stuck in that phase of trying to adjust to the new momentum, because that's where a lot of people get stuck in jumping back in again. Jump the fuck back in again. Because I'm telling you, it is literally just on the other side of everything that you've been wanting to experience. The beauty right now about where we are energetically, okay, and this is something that we also need to be reminded about, because we always talk about energy these days and how all of these negative manifestations are happening globally. But like I have said before in other videos, when we talk about 5D energy and being able to access the energy of instant manifestation, or not necessarily just instant, it feels more instant, but we're losing density. Three-dimensional energy is very dense. When we start to ascend, we lose density, which means the time that it takes to manifest something usually significantly decreases. So that works in your favor. But we've all been tapped into the negative of that, because the powers that be are tapped into that. So they already know that all of this fear-based energy is going to manifest a lot faster right now because of where we are. We're even spinning faster as a planet. But use that in your favor and refocus and understand that all of the positive things right now that you could think about are also going to manifest for you just as fast. But you cannot apply the brakes when you start to feel those things coming in. Momentum is an energy. It is a catalyst for itself. Speed loves speed. So when that attraction starts to happen, that's when you should really be tapped in. That's not when you pull back out. That's not when you pull your energy back out, because that's when you are actually in flow, in momentum. Things are working for you in your favor. That's the work smarter spiritually and not harder. When you realize that you're in a period of flow and momentum, use that to your advantage. All pressure, no brakes. Because energy is working in your favor right now. If you allow yourself to access it, if you allow yourself to access the higher thoughts, if you allow yourself to access the goodness, if you allow yourself a chance to believe in yourself and the ability to see your actions through, if you have confidence that you have the wherewithal and the skill set, the flexibility and the faithfulness to see things through. Because a lot of the times, spirit, ancestors, higher self, God will align you with an opportunity, and it's asking for you to trust enough in yourself that you will be a conduit for what it is that you have asked for. Sometimes you just have to show up for shit and say, ancestors, spirit, God, fill me with whatever the fuck it is that I need in this moment to be able to see this thing through, to stand up, to find the courage, to find the strength to learn. Because it meets you where you're at. Okay? Okay? Just be aware of how we self-sabotage and fear of that speed, that momentum that comes into our lives when things begin to show themselves, when things begin to show fruit for themselves. You don't have to look at anybody else's life and ask, why not me? The only reason why it's why not you is the only difference between, there's two types of people. There's people that think about doing shit, and there's people that do the shit that they think about. It's the only two type of people that we have. Either the person that thinks about doing something and the person that does the things that they have theorized. Become a doer. All of that other shit is a part of the process. What you consider a failure is not a failure. It's a learning experience, because then it cultivates the precision for you to be able to do things later exactly and better. We're not going to just pop up and know everything and be able to do everything 100% all of the time, especially for the first time. A lot of y'all are looking at other people's lives and feeling like you can reach a quote-unquote level of perfection without putting any time in, without putting any work in. There's a time alignment. There is a learning alignment. And then there's your faithfulness. And all of these things work together to create a situation for you in your life that is beneficial for you. But if the only thing that you're doing is sitting to the side, looking at other people's success, feeling bad about where you're at, you're wasting time. And the time that you're spending doing those things that are not serving you, that are not feeding your spirit, that's not providing you with encouragement, that's not providing you with time, a skill set, learning to do the things that you want to do. Invest in yourself. Invest in your time. Because that is the most precious thing that you will ever motherfucking have. It's time. Not money, not currency. That'll happen when you value your time. When you begin to value your time, you begin to see an increase in your currency. All sorts of currency. Not just monetary. But those things happen when you begin to value your most precious, priceless energy here. So be mindful of how you use your time, the thoughts that you spend your time on, because all of that time that you spend thinking things that aren't growing you ain't growing you. It's only further delaying you, only further delaying the goodness that you can experience. It's all here for us. Like I said, if you're just tuning in, I briefly tapped in on the fact that we are experiencing an ascension of energy. And the powers that be use that against us because they know that magnetism is at an all-time high. So they're spending a lot of extra time making sure that you're tapped in on lower vibrational frequencies that delay your path and manifest theirs. You have to be able to take your attention back. Where you put your attention is where you're placing your seeds. So think about what has your attention right now. And think about where you're subconsciously planting your seeds. Because you're dropping those motherfuckers wherever you go, whether you're conscious about it or not. So a lot of the times when unfavorable fruit grows, we are looking at ourselves back down the line and you're like, what happened? Where did I turn? What did I do wrong? Sometimes your unconscious thoughts and not living intentionally is what you did wrong, because along your journey, you've been dropping seeds places. Be mindful of where you put your time and attention. Your attention is valuable. Why do you think these platforms like Facebook and Instagram buy and sell your attention? Somebody can go to a company and say, this is the amount of people that look at my page during a week, and they will pay you for other people's attention. Do you not understand what that means? Your attention is a billion-dollar industry. So are you paying enough attention to yourself, or are you lining somebody else's pockets? Okay? 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 Oh, motherfucking K. All right, I'm done. Y'all have a blessed day, a magical day. I'm going to take my own motherfucking advice and pay attention to myself. Okay, share this shit, drop this shit on somebody's page, on your page, because people need to hear this shit. People need to remember and take control of their lives. Remember, this was all inspired by the Chariot. the Chariot and Tarot. You are the person that is controlling this vehicle and vessel. The speed, the momentum, the brakes, the steering, that is all on you. Whether you're doing subconsciously or consciously. Whether you let somebody else drive your motherfucking car. And that's a personal problem. When you let somebody else steer your vessel. And you know how you do that? You know how you let somebody else steer your vessel? You let somebody else's thoughts get into your head. You live for other people. You are a slave to other people's opinions. You're letting somebody else drive your motherfucking vehicle, baby. And if you don't like where you are, take the wheel back. If you're looking in all your mirrors and your vehicle and your vessel, and you're looking at your circumstances and your situations, and you're saying you don't like where you drove that motherfucker, it's never too late to turn back, because there are no dead ends. You can put that bitch in reverse, but you have to be willing to drive differently the next time, or you're going to stay where you're at. The only dead end is the only one that you make for yourself. It is the equivalent of sitting your car in the middle of a highway, because life is infinite, baby. So if you put that bitch in park and everything else is happening around you, that's the only dead end that you will experience, and it'll be at your own hands. Okay? This is free game. It's free. It's for the free, because I love you.